morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Monday, January 11, 2016. If you want to follow us on Twitter, go to CATEX TV. Chinese stock markets were down again today, heavily. Europe, however, has remained stable. Even the German DAX index went up a little bit. And in pre-opening trading in New York, the Dow Jones is looking like it's going to remain even, if not, in fact, increase. So finally, the Western markets may have begun to ring-fence the so-called Chinese contagion. Meanwhile, in reinsurance and insurance, estimates from the Association of British Insurers have put the total payouts now for the three big storms that struck Britain over the past month, Storm Desmond, Eva, and Frank, at about $1.9 billion U.S. Statistics collected show that more than 3,000 families are still living in alternative accommodations. Some £24 million has already been dispersed in emergency payments. According to the head of the ABIR, the December storms have brought devastating flooding to significant parts of the UK. The impact of the flooding will be felt for many months to come in affected areas. Cleaning, drying out, and repairing flood-damaged properties is a major undertaking. He's right. Extreme weather in the United States during the last 10 days of December could leave insurers on the hook for more than $2 billion. This is according to Aon Benfield. Snowfall, hail, winds, tornadoes, and flooding killed 64 people in the U.S., and economic losses from the storm are expected to total more than $4 billion. Flooding in Tennessee and in other states along the Mississippi were among the most damaging events, but Aon says insurance payments resulting from that damage may not be high. That's because of the National Flood Insurance Program. In Texas, flooding and tornadoes made the Dallas area and other of the more damaged areas. The Insurance Council of Texas reported losses of $1.2 billion in that metro area alone. The United States accounted for 60% of all global insured losses in 2015. And in Australia, bushfires that have decimated the western part of the country last week have already resulted in hundreds of claims and insured losses totaling more than $42 million U.S. The Insurance Council of Australia said that that number is expected to rise. They declared a catastrophe in the town of Yorlub after businesses and homes caught fire and the surrounding areas were pulverized by flames. The event is the second major bushfire disaster in as many weeks, following a severe fire in the Victoria region on Christmas Eve. In China, frightened residents in the southeastern city of Lungshijiang thought they were simply filming a blazing inferno when they managed to capture a massive explosion at a chemicals plant. It was not a film, it was real life. The plant exploded on Saturday. The warehouse contained chemicals in plastic bottles, but fortunately they had suspended production of their PVC production line shortly before the outbreak of the blast because of an investigation. Local residents were evacuated. Environmental authorities are monitoring the air quality in the area. Of course, the Chinese are particularly sensitive right now, or at least the local populations are, who live near a chemical plant because of a spate of chemical plant explosions. The United States and South Korea are discussing sending more strategic U.S. weapons to the Korean Peninsula. This a day after an American B-52 bomber flew low over South Korea in response to the North's nuclear test last week. North Korea said that it set off a hydrogen bomb on Wednesday, although skeptics and scientists say that there's no evidence for that to date. South Korean media said that the U.S. may send B-2 bombers, nuclear-powered submarines, and F-22 stealth fighter jets to South Korea. Meanwhile, yesterday, Donald Trump said that Kim Jong Un, the North Korean leader, is somebody you have to give credit to. He's a young man who came in and took over those generals and took control of the military real fast. He executed his uncle and other people who stood in his way. You have to give him credit. Meanwhile, in the United States, there's been an ongoing problem with Flint, Michigan, a very poor city which has been decimated by the upheaval in the American auto industry over the last generation. Flint lies about 70 miles from the shores of the largest group of freshwater bodies in the world, the Great Lakes. About 2 years ago, the city decided to save money by switching its water supply from Lake Huron to the Flint River. Flint River was a notorious tributary of the Detroit River that runs through town, known to locals for its filth. The switch was made during a state of financial emergency. It was supposed to be temporary, but it was not. Soon after the switch, the water started to look and smell and taste funny. Residents said it often looked dirty. People thought it was sewage, but it was actually iron. The Flint River is highly corrosive, 19 times more so than the Lake Huron water supply, and what the corrosive water was doing was eroding the pipes that were running from the water source to the homes and dislodging pieces of lead. The situation in Flint now is such that lead poisoning is something that occurs every time you turn the faucet on. The city is now supplying bottled water to all of its residents, and they have already switched back to the Lake Huron source, but meanwhile the corrosive damage in the pipes has already been done, and even the clean water from Lake Huron dislodges contaminants and pieces of lead. The fix would have cost $100 a day to put in an anti-corrosive agent. By not putting in the anti-corrosive agent, the Water Authority was breaking federal law. One doctor who said that he's being hailed as a hero because he discovered the effect on the children of Flint with lead ingestion, said if you were to put something in a population to keep them down for a generation and generations to come, it would be lead. It's a well-known potent neurotoxin. There's a ton of evidence as to what lead does to a child. It drops your IQ, it affects your behavior. There is no safe level of lead in a child. It's a terrible situation in Flint, Michigan. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.